So, let me take you back to the day our lives got flipped upside down. My wife, Lucy, and I had always dreamed of being parents. We tried for years, went through all the fertility treatments, and even consulted specialists. It seemed like the universe had other plans, though. After countless tests, doctors told us that we couldn't have biological children on our own. At first, we were devastated. But after a lot of thinking, talking, and a few too many glasses of wine, we decided to try surrogacy. Now, let me tell you, the journey to finding the right surrogate was like searching for a needle in a haystack while blindfolded. There were interviews, paperwork, and meetings that made us feel like we were applying for a job at NASA. But eventually, we found Sarah. Sarah was in her mid-30s, a mother of 2, and had the kindest, most reassuring smile I'd ever seen. She was our hero. We were over the moon when the day finally came. Lucy and I had always envisioned the day we would finally become parents. But we never imagined it would come in the form of 3 babies at once. Yes, you heard that right, triplets. 3. As in, 3 tiny humans to care for, all at once. The phone call that changed everything came one Tuesday afternoon. Lucy was sitting on the couch, reading a book, while I was doing what I do best, watching football and pretending to clean. The phone rang, and I could tell by the way Lucy's face lit up that something big was happening. She answered with that nervous excitement that only a future parent can have. "Hello," she said, her voice trembling. "Lucy, it's Sarah. You might want to sit down." That's when the world seemed to slow down, like one of those slow-motion scenes in a movie. My mind was racing as Lucy's eyes widened, and she mouthed the word, triplets. She held the phone out to me like I had to somehow process this news. I took the phone and nervously said, "Hello. Congratulations. You're having 3 babies." Sarah said, as if this was a completely normal conversation. There was silence on my end. I think my heart skipped a beat. "Wait, hold on. 3. I stammered, like I was expecting her to clarify, "Just kidding, you're actually getting 1. "Yes, 3. 3 babies, she confirmed. "I'm due in about 6 months. But I wanted to tell you now, so you have time to prepare." "Prepare? How do you prepare for 3 babies?" I could barely manage to prepare myself for the fact that we had 1 baby on the way, let alone 3. Lucy and I just stared at each other. There was a mix of joy, shock, and confusion on our faces. How were we going to handle this? Was there even enough room in our house for 3 cribs? And who on earth could babysit 3 babies at once? The next few months were a whirlwind of preparation. We scrambled to buy enough baby gear for a small army. 3 cribs. 3 car seats. 3 high chairs. I couldn't help but laugh at how our living room started looking more like a baby store than an actual living room. Fast forward to the big day. We rushed to the hospital, feeling both excited and terrified. There was a sense of "we got this" mixed with "we have no idea what we're doing." Lucy held my hand, squeezing it whenever she felt nervous, and I did the same, even though I wasn't sure what was going on in the delivery room. After what felt like an eternity of waiting, Sarah gave birth. First came baby A, a tiny girl. Then came baby B, another little girl. Finally, baby C, a bouncing baby boy, made his grand entrance. All 3 of them were perfect. Tiny hands, little feet, and the cutest faces you could imagine. We both burst into tears. It was overwhelming, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. We had just become parents to 3 little people. In the weeks that followed, Lucy and I learned the true meaning of parenthood. We had bottles everywhere, diapers in every room, and a never-ending stream of laundry. Our house looked like a bomb went off. People warned us about the chaos of raising triplets, but nothing could have prepared us for the sleep deprivation, the constant crying, and the sheer amount of love we felt every time we looked at them. Of course, there were funny moments too. Like when I tried to change all 3 of their diapers at once, and somehow ended up getting peed on by all 3 of them. Or when I would try to rock 2 of them to sleep, only to fall asleep myself, and wake up to one baby quietly crying, the other 2 sound asleep, and me looking like I just survived a natural disaster. The first few months were tough, no doubt. But we got through it together. We learned to take turns. Lucy would handle one baby while I took care of the other 2. We found our rhythm even though it felt like a dance where we kept tripping over our own feet. The best part, though, seeing the 3 of them together. Watching them laugh at each other, hold hands, and bond in ways we couldn't have imagined. It was chaos, it was hard, but it was also the most beautiful thing we'd ever experienced. And so, here we are today, looking at our 3 wild, wonderful kids. They've stolen our hearts, wrecked our sleep, and changed our lives in ways we could never have dreamed of. Sure, some days are hard, like when they all decide to cry at once, or when we're running on 3 hours of sleep, but we wouldn't change it for the world. Our triplet journey hasn't been easy, but it's been the greatest adventure of our lives. And to anyone who says, "You're so brave to have triplets," I'll just smile and say, we didn't choose this adventure. It chose us. So, to my fellow parents out there, whether you're expecting 1 baby or 5, just know you got this. And when in doubt, remember, 3 babies means 3 times the love, and 3 times the diapers. The first year with triplets was a blur of sleepless nights, endless bottles, and what felt like a constant game of who needs attention right now. It wasn't just juggling bottles and diapers, it was learning to multitask in ways I didn't know were humanly possible. Lucy and I became experts in synchronized baby holding. She'd nurse one while I bounced the second, and we'd both take turns trying to calm the third one who decided that 3 a.m. was the perfect time to practice her opera skills. But the moments in between the chaos were what kept us going. The first time all 3 of them smiled at the same time, like, truly smiled, was a moment that felt like a gift from the universe. And the first time they laughed together. It was like music. I couldn't have cared less that I hadn't slept in 2 days. I was in awe of the magic they created just by being themselves. Then came the milestones. The first time they all rolled over. Then the first time they sat up. Then the day they started crawling, and Lucy and I realized we were officially in over our heads. There was nowhere to hide anymore, no more sitting on the couch for a peaceful minute, no more thinking maybe we can take a breather today. No, now we had 3 tiny humans zooming around the house, trying to crawl in every direction at once. Our house quickly became a fortress. We padded every corner, moved sharp objects to the highest shelves, and basically turned our living room into a padded cell with a few toys scattered around. I often joke that we should have set up a GoPro just to document the chaos because there was no way anyone would believe the things that happened on a daily basis. One time, I caught all 3 of them trying to play with the dog's chew toys. They had gotten into the dog's basket, and suddenly, instead of playing with their own toys, they were all wrestling over a half-chewed squeaky bone. They were so determined to fight over that bone, I swear I saw the tiniest bit of negotiation happening between them. The oldest, Emma, would grab it and look at her siblings like she had just claimed a rare treasure. Sarah, who was usually the quiet one, was not having it. She would reach for it with an arm that seemed impossibly long for someone her size, and Max, well, he was just there for the ride, probably thinking, what's going on? But I want in. As they grew, things started to get easier, and I say that with a massive asterisk next to it. I don't want to paint a picture of pure bliss. There were still tantrums, more sleepless nights, and endless piles of laundry. But by the time they were about a year old, we had developed a routine, and it wasn't just chaos anymore. It was organized chaos, like a well-oiled machine that occasionally broke down but somehow still functioned. Lucy and I had learned to communicate without words. A look between us, a quick glance at the clock, and we both knew it was time for a 3 a.m. bottle. We had also mastered the art of strategic naps. Lucy would take the morning shift, I'd take the afternoon, and then we tag team through the night. There was no such thing as a normal weekend anymore. Our social life, gone. But our family life, oh, it was full of more joy and laughter than we'd ever imagined. The thing about triplets is that they don't let you take anything for granted. Every milestone, every new word, every step they took felt like an enormous victory. And it's not just about the big stuff, it's the little moments too. Like when Max tried to say dog, but it came out more like a dog, or when Sarah, who had been the most reserved, suddenly decided she was an expert at playing peekaboo with her dad. There were days when I'd find myself lying on the couch, holding two of them while Lucy handled the third, and I'd just stare at the ceiling, amazed at how we'd come this far. And yet, despite all the mess, the exhaustion, and the occasional disaster, like when Sarah once got into the paint and turned herself into a little Picasso, there was nothing I wouldn't do to keep our family together. Fast forward to today, and the kids are now toddlers. The house is still loud, still messy, but in the best way possible. Emma talks non-stop, she's our little chatterbox. Sarah is quiet but has these intense, soulful eyes that make you feel like she's always a step ahead of the rest of us. Max is our troublemaker, always getting into something he shouldn't, but he's got the best giggle that makes it impossible to stay mad at him. And as for Lucy and me, we are doing better than we ever thought possible. Sure, we've had our moments of panic, like when we realized they were all potty training at the same time. Don't ever do that, by the way. But through it all, we've learned to roll with the punches. We've found humor in the chaos, and we've learned that parenting triplets is like being in a comedy show that never ends. So, yeah, we have triplets. Yes, it's overwhelming. Yes, it's a lot of work. But I wouldn't change a thing. They are a tiny little whirlwind, our daily adventure, and they've taught us that love doesn't just multiply, it triples. Every day is a new challenge, a new blessing, and at the end of it all, we know that no matter what happens, we've got this. And if you ever need advice on surviving triplet parenthood, just know this, it's mostly about surviving the first few years with a smile on your face, a cup of coffee in your hand, and the ability to laugh at the absurdity of it all. Because in the end, if you don't laugh, you might just cry, and let's be honest, there are enough tears already. As the months turned into years, we began to settle into the rhythm of parenting 3 toddlers. People always said that time flies, but I'd argue that with triplets, time does more than just fly, it does acrobatics while juggling flaming torches. Every milestone was both a victory and a reminder that we were living in a never-ending game of catch-up. The one thing we didn't anticipate, however, was the way the 3 of them would start to develop their own personalities. We thought they'd be a team, a little army of siblings who did everything together. But oh no, each one of them had their own idea of what life should be like. Emma, our talker, had this ability to hold an entire conversation with herself. I'd be standing in the kitchen, and I'd hear, "Mom, guess what? I went to the store, and I saw a giraffe, and it was purple. And then I ate a sandwich, and I told the sandwich a secret, and the sandwich told me a secret back. I swear, I couldn't make this stuff up." It was like living with a tiny storyteller, and I wasn't sure if I was her audience or just a part of the plot. Lucy and I would try to keep up with the barrage of stories, but we quickly learned that if we didn't give a suitable response, like a very enthusiastic wow, we would get a 20-minute monologue on the importance of giraffes in her imaginary world. Sarah, on the other hand, was always the quieter one, but she had this way of watching everything with an intensity that made you feel like she was absorbing the world through her own special lens. She didn't speak as much as Emma, but when she did, it was profound. For example, one afternoon, she looked at me and simply said, "Dad, the moon is sad." I looked up, confused, trying to figure out if this was some kind of deep philosophical statement. "Why is the moon sad?" I asked, just to keep the conversation going. "It's alone," she replied, then returned to playing with her blocks as if she hadn't just hit me with an existential crisis. I didn't know whether to be proud of her insights or to start calling her a future philosopher. And then there was Maximum. Max was a whirlwind, a tornado of energy, and the most unpredictable of the three. He had this mischievous grin that would appear just before he did something that made me question my life choices. Like the time he somehow managed to open the laundry detergent, pour it all over the floor, and then proceed to slide around the living room like it was an ice rink. We stood there, watching him, completely frozen, unsure whether to laugh or cry. I think we did both. Max was also the one who had perfected the art of the escape. One moment, he'd be in the playpen, happily playing with toys, and the next, you'd hear a faint giggle from across the room, followed by him strolling out like he was casually leaving a five-star restaurant. Lucy and I had gotten so good at baby-proofing the house, it was almost like we were living in a safe house for secret agents. But Max, he always found a way to outsmart us. Parenting triplets had taught us a lot of things, but one of the most important lessons was that you have to laugh when things go wrong. Like when all three of them decided that they hated broccoli, and we spent 30 minutes trying to bribe them into eating it, only to have them throw it at the dog. Or when they all learned to jump on the couch at the exact same time, causing a mini earthquake in our living room. The couch cushions were never the same after that day. Still, as chaotic as it was also incredibly rewarding. Watching them grow, seeing their bond with each other, and witnessing them become their own little people, it was the greatest gift Lucy and I could have ever asked for. There were times when it felt like we were running on empty, but those moments when they called us Mom and Dad for the first time, or when they hugged us out of nowhere, made all the sleepless nights and endless laundry worth it. One afternoon, we took them to the park, and it was like watching three little tornadoes take over the playground. Emma immediately found a group of kids to play with, leading the charge like a mini-mayor. Sarah wandered around, observing everything with a quiet curiosity, and Max, of course, tried to climb everything at once. Lucy and I sat on the bench, exhausted but laughing as we watched our three little humans go off in every direction. "Do you ever stop and think about how far we've come?" Lucy asked, as we shared a moment of calm amidst the chaos. "Not often enough," I said, watching Max try to scale the slide backward. "But when I do, it's kind of unbelievable. We are doing this, you know." Lucy smiled, her eyes reflecting the joy of the moment. "We really are." And just like that, in the middle of the madness, I realized how much we had grown as a family. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were thriving. Maybe not in the way we imagined at first, but in a way that was perfectly ours. So, here we are, 3 years in, with 3 wild, wonderful kids who have completely changed our lives. We've learned to embrace the mess, the noise, and the chaos because, in the end, it's all part of the adventure. And while I can't promise it's always easy, I can promise that it's always worth it. Triplets might mean triple the mess, triple the stress, but it also means triple the love. And that, I'm convinced, is the most beautiful kind of chaos there is.